Hi, I'm Cliff, and I'm going to show you how to play some pool. A few things though. First, before you can run a table, before you can start using a bank shot to put the ball in, or cutting a ball into the corner, or even using a massé shot, you have to understand the basic principles behind pool. And I'm going to show you the basics in the next 15 minutes, and I hope it helps you out. Thanks. The first thing I'm going to show you is your stance. You actually have to be pointed towards the shot that you're going to take. Now, stances vary from person to person because of their size or their height or how short they are. Everyone's stances are a little bit different. My stance, I usually go in a forward stance like this, and my hand down, and I'm facing the ball. So you have to get into a comfortable position in order to be able to shoot. The next thing I'm going to show you is bridges. My dad always said that a bridge is what gives you the stability for making a shot. So my bridge literally is, I put the heel of my hand down, I spread my fingers, I put my thumb next to my next to this finger here, and so that I can have my cue comfortably on top. It doesn't move, it's not shaking. This is called an open bridge. If you want to do a closed bridge, you put your 3 fingers down, 1 finger up, your thumb, and then you close your index finger, and that's your closed bridge. I've seen people, and very good people, who use their fingers like a bridge on a bit of an angle so that they can do the shot. And I've seen some people do it like this, and that's just their technique. But my technique is an open bridge. I put the heel down, fingers spread out, thumb inside, and I rest my cue on my thumb. Right in between, there's a little gap here, and it allows me to have a steady bridge so that I can stroke my cue. So the next thing I'm going to show you is your stroke. You have to try to imagine that when you're stroking the cue, you have to be as straight as possible. If you notice, my arm is on an angle over here. I am not moving side to side when I stroke my cue. I'm actually going back and forth, and I stay just like you would see on a locomotive on the wheel. The arm that's attached on the wheel is staying in a forward position, and it's moving like this, but staying completely straight. It's not moving back and forth. You want the same thing, except you're not going to be moving like a locomotive. You're going to be moving backwards and forward. So with my bridge, I'm going to put the cue down, and I'm moving backwards and forwards. This is key. If you can stay completely straight when you're stroking your cue, your percentage of putting that ball into the pocket increases. But as soon as you start wavering or going back side to side like this, you reduce your chances of putting that ball in. And but you want to be a high percentage shooter. So backwards and forwards, it's key. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do a stop shot. So what you're doing is you're aiming, you got to look at the ball as a whole and find the center, and just below it, that's where you're going to strike the ball. But you strike the ball in a jerking motion, and what's going to happen is the cue ball is actually going to slide over to the object ball, and once it hits it, it's going to stop, as long as you're in a straight line. I'm going to show you the basic principles right now behind the stop shot. And so all you're gonna do is you're gonna hit just below center, down here, and you're gonna pop it, and you're just gonna give it a little jerk. You're gonna give it a little jerk. You're just gonna stun the ball. That's the word I was looking for. So you're gonna stun the ball, and as soon as it hits the object ball, it's gonna stop. It's used widely. You're gonna use it whether you're shooting a short range shot or a long range shot for better position on other balls. It's really easy to do. You have to have a good bridge, nice easy stroke, and stun it. Stops immediately. I'm going to show you again. Nope. Really easy shot. So just below center, that's a stop shot. The next one I'm going to show you is called a backspin. And so what's going to happen is a backspin works on how low you are on the cue ball, not the angle that you shoot. Now, there are going to be situations where you're going to shoot over a ball and you're going to need to hit down on an angle. A backspin will still work, but it's not based on the angle. It's based on how low you are to the cue ball. Let me just grab some chalk here. Chalk is your friend. I'll show you how to chalk in a moment. So again, it's how low you are to the ball. And it allows you to draw the ball back. And essentially what you're doing is when you're hitting the ball, it's spinning backwards. So when it hits the object ball, it comes back. So let's show you again here. You don't have to hit a ball hard in order for a backspin to work. It's all about control. So as low as you can to the cue ball, and you get a backspin. Now I'm going to show you a topspin. Topspin's pretty easy. Same thing like a backspin, except you're going to hit the top of the ball. And when you hit the top of the ball, what's going to happen is the cue ball will follow. So same principle as doing a backspin. The only difference is the cue ball is going to be moving forward. So when you hit the ball, it's going to be spinning forward, and when it hits the object ball, it's going to continue forward. This is really important too when you're looking to set up your shots. But here's an example. So let me show you again. This time I'm going to show you with the 12 ball. And when I do a stop shot, so I'm going to show you a stun, so I'm going to stun the ball so it stops. There was hardly any movement in that ball when it went and contact the object ball. So I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do with a backspin this time. So you can see the effect on the cue ball, or on the 12 ball. So when I hit it, it was slowly moving backwards to create that backspin shot. So stop shot, just below center, and you're stunning, so you're doing this. You're poking it. Well, that's a bad example because it wasn't completely straight, and And then you're going to do, I should go to the other side. So a nice little drill that I like to do is I go from side to side. So as soon as I fill up the pocket on one side, I just set up on the other side. And you know what? Whether you're an advanced player or beginner player, these are things that you have to keep on top of because you're always going to use these 3 spins. Now, if you ever look at a cue ball, there's actually 9 spins that you could do on a cue ball. So from the center, 1 over to the right, and 1 over to the left. Those are your mid-range shots. So you're going to go into side spins, left side spin, stop shot. And then you can do the bottom corner of the ball. That's a back spin with a back right spin, back middle spin, back left spin, top right spin, top spin, and top left spin. But we're only covering today the stop shot, the top spin, and the back spin. And you're going to practice this. You're going to do this over and over again until it's seamless, until you don't miss these shots anymore. Because what you're doing is you're creating something called muscle memory. And muscle memory is awesome, especially when it comes to pool. The more you do it, just like golf, somebody asked this professional golfer, "Oh, I wish I was able to be as good as you were." And he says, all you have to do is get out on the golf course, hit 10,000 balls a week, and you'll have that muscle memory. And so same thing with pool. It's all about muscle memory. The more balls you pocket, the more memory you'll have, and your body will start remembering it. So, you know, I don't play pool every day, but I can pick up a pool cue and walk into any pool hall or go and play pool with some friends, and within 20 or 30 minutes, I'm almost back to my game. And so muscle memory is key. So this is the drill. So you're going to do, first you're going to do whatever amount of balls that you have in the pocket. But you're going to do a stop shot, pick up the next ball, put another ball there. You're going to do that again and again until your pocket over here is empty. Pick up the ball, do it again. And you're just going to continue doing this stop shot until you have it perfect. And it's a great little drill. It's really helpful. And it'll really help to improve your game. Especially at the beginning stages. You want to have these simple shots down pat. So till you empty the pocket, you can't move on. Then you go to the other side. Grab the next ball, and you're going to do top spin. Then you grab the ball, and you're going to do it over and over again until your pocket's empty. And what you're doing is you're practicing your stroke, and you're practicing keeping your arm straight. And there's a lot of little things to remember. But this is also a good time for you to practice different types of bridges. So if you wanted to do a closed bridge, open bridge, now's the time to do it. The next one you're going to do again, because we just did top spin and we did stop shot. Now we're going to do backspin. Oh, that wasn't a good example because I wasn't doing a backspin. The lower you are on the ball, the better. And even guys who play well sometimes screw up. But it's part of learning. Alright, next thing I want to show you is how to chalk a cue. Even as an experienced player like myself, I get into a bad habit sometimes. Sometimes I don't chalk my cue properly. I catch myself, doing something silly like this. That's not chalking your cue. Chalking your cue literally is taking the chalk and putting it literally around every aspect of that tip, and you're scratching it on, and the better your tip is covered, the more your cue is going to stick to the cue ball. It doesn't actually stick, but without any chalk on your cue, you're going to do something called a miscue, and that's when you hit your cue ball and it jumps, or you go to do a spin and it jumps off the table, or you do a top spin and it's like you miss the ball completely. It's amazing how chalk allows the cue ball to stick. So it's adding it to your cue like this, in this fashion, and getting all the edges. Now I'm using my son's cue, and so he does this a lot, and you can see around the ferrule over here, all that blue that builds up, it's because he does that. And it's something that pool players do when they're lazy. But when you're chalking and you're playing a game, or you're playing a tournament where every shot matters, you want to make sure that you're chalking properly. If not, something as simple as doing this instead of doing this can affect your next shot. So when you're chalking, nice even strokes all over. You want to have it nice and blue, and you don't have to do the sides of the tip because you don't use the sides of the tip. However, you do use the full spectrum of the tip of the cue. One thing I did fail to mention to you in regards to the top spin and the backspin, I told you about stunning and doing that jerking motion for a stop shot. But for a backspin, you're actually following through, and for a top spin, you're following through. Meaning, when I hit the ball, so when I hit the cue ball, for instance, I don't just stun it. I go past almost the same distance as the size of the ball. So when I hit a backspin, I'm doing this. I'm going past it. So I'm hitting the bottom, but I'm following through. And the same thing for a topspin. You have to follow through. If you just do a stun, you're not going to have the same effect So you want to follow through on a backspin. That's what gives you that nice draw. And you know, you want to follow through on a topspin because that's what gives you the motor to go forward. And if you don't have that motor, see how it hit the ball and continue going forward? If you don't follow through, you're not going to get that action on the ball. Very important. So the last thing I'm going to show you is how to set up a rack. So you typically start with the 1 ball, then you want 2 stripes. The 8 ball is always in the center. Then you're going to do 2 solid balls. You're going to do stripes on the edges, a solid and a stripe below. Solids on the outside, 2 stripes here, and 1 on the inside. So you always have a solid stripe, solid stripe, solid stripe, solid stripe, solid stripe, solid stripe. 8 ball, solid stripe. Now, I have taught my sons a little bit of a different method. Same setup, but if you want to truly set up the balls the way they should, this is fine. And then when you play, regardless of the league that you're in, setting it up like this is more than enough. But my sons, I've taught them just slightly different. So if you want to know what accompanying ball goes with the 1 ball, it's a 9 ball. So it's 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 8 is 10. 3 plus 8 is 11, and so forth. But if you want to pair it up like that, you can. You can do 1 and 9, 2 and 10, 3 and 11, 4 and 12, 5 and 13, 6 and 14, 7 and 15, and the 8 ball. The reason why it's important, you have to know what ball accompanies what ball. When you're playing a game, it's usually solids or stripes, and it's always a race to 8. 8 being the final ball that you put in. So the one who does it finishes their 7 shots because there are 7 solids and there's 7 stripes. Whoever shoots in their 7 first and sinks in the 8 wins the game. That's a basic about 8 ball. There's so many rules right now with some of the leagues here. You have to call every single shot. Well, with most anything, you have to call your shot. In 8 ball, nothing is luck. However, there are some games out there like 9 ball, which is a very good game and requires a significant amount of skill. But sometimes you can make some lucky shots and sink in the appropriate ball and still be able to continue to shoot. 10 ball, same thing. But today we're just discussing 8 ball. So I've shown you how to set it up. There's a little dot over here. This is where you put the top ball on. You don't put the 8 ball on it. This is considered a legal rack. And when you're racking, you don't push the corners. It's cheating. Because what actually happens is these 5 balls over here move away from the rack and it's not tight together. What you want to do is you want to have a good rack where all the balls are touching because you want to make it fair for the person who's breaking. A decent break, and I'll show you breaks on the next lesson. But a decent break, you're going to bring 4 or 5 balls back to the other side of the table. A crappy break is when your balls don't separate at all, so you know that the person who racked up the balls didn't do a good job, and you can call a foul and a re-rack. And anyways, so to rack a set of balls properly, have all your fingers, either you do it like this or like this, like I put my hands all the way across all the balls, and you press them up together, and when they're tight, you lift up the rack. They're all tight together so that when you go to break the balls, they break up nicely. It's an advantage to you and an advantage to the person who's breaking, and makes it fair as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and if you have any questions, send me a message, comment below, or send me an email, and until next time, thank you.